Sonya.
Dina.
So we have really welcome to the next stage of endometriosis, the internal bully. It's really important for Sonya and I to share, for those who want to know, the thing that really got us through the most was our faith. And out of respect for people that don't have a faith in God, we didn't want to mix this too much into our other things that we've done so far, interviews or but for those that want to know about our God journey in the midst of all of this, we want to give you the tidbits that helped us. And I know that's something that we've shared, we've talked about. It's been the joy in the midst of it, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
I find that that's the one thing that really pulled me through.
Absolutely.
So, but I did have incredibly joyful moments. The first one that comes to my mind when I say that was after my first lung collapse. I think I spent, it was like 3 months in my living room on the couch or the chair with music on all day long. And I gave myself the liberty to rest. It was the first time in my life that I actually allowed myself to go, okay, you have been through a lot with your health battle. You now know what's wrong with you and you need to rest. And I remember having a really bad day, and I sat down, I closed my eyes, and I just was asking God, what's going on? And I got this vision of this kind of like round-shaped thing in my abdomen that was shriveling up and dying.
Wow. Yeah.
And I know that I know in that moment that God was showing me that there was something there, but he was killing it. And it was shriveling up and it was dying.
Gives me goosebumps, Dina.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah, and I knew that it was a journey.
Yeah.
I knew that it wasn't going to like be a miraculous healing like that.
Yeah.
Because the shriveling process took time.
Yeah.
And that's one of the moments that really gave me joy. It's one of the moments that pulled me through.
Because you knew you had him helping you through.
Yeah.
And
what about you? Did you have like, I mean, we both have our elaborate stories, but that was just like a little taste.
I feel like I had, it was probably 3 specific moments. And there was one, which is funny, there was one sort of on our infertility journey. So before we even fell pregnant. And then there was one in the surgery, so in the midst of it all, and then a moment after. But if I start with the one before, falling pregnant, I think it was just more, I didn't like hear an audible voice or anything from God, but I was very confused. I was doubtful that, I wasn't sure if God would come through, but I was really crying out to God and, lots of tears and, God, what's going on? When am I going to be a mum? Am I ever going to be a mum? And I just remember he showed me, I had this moment, I was just journaling one night and just tears flowing, tears streaming, and journaling and getting into the Word, into the Bible, and he just showed me all of these stories of these women in the Bible who were going through the exact same emotions and things that I was feeling.
Wow.
And I think that really gave me a lot of, it just dawned on me, like, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that's experiencing this. This is not a new thing, women back in Bible times experienced it, and they were waiting 20 years. Some had babies when they were like old enough to be grandmas, So he showed me the story of Rachel and Rebecca and Sarah and all these women in the Bible, and I just started writing it down and journaling, and Hannah as well. There's just so many. They had huge journeys, and then it all led me to his family tree. I was looking at the family tree from Abraham to Jesus, and I was like, oh my goodness, like all of these women went through what I'm going through, but he had a purpose and he had a plan for them, and it was leading to Jesus. That's the one that saved the world, saved us. And so I was just like, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, and almost emotional, because I just knew in that moment that God was like, you're going to have a child, and this child is going to be blessed, and this child is going to be a world changer. Wow. Yeah. So that was the moment before having a baby where I was like, he just showed me his family tree and all of this stuff, and I got it in the house. Like I wrote it all down, and I still kept it for now, so I can look back and remember those times. So. Yeah.
Actually, it's funny because I think we're just going to remind each other of things as we share.
Yeah, definitely.
You got a lot of biblical foundation, I remember, as we've discussed before, whereas I just got like visionary kind of things, and I think it was catered to the season that I was in. I remember when I was going in for my first surgery, I was petrified. I was so petrified of having surgery. It was kind of like a fear of the unknown, and I was petrified because I'd had the lung collapse, and they stick a tube down your throat, and they breathe for you, and so there was all this concern about whether or not my lung could handle the surgery for the endometriosis and the laparoscopy, and I remember I asked a lot of my women friends to pray, and I had given the liberty to the doctors to do whatever it is that they needed to do, and I was trusting that God was going to be with the doctors, but I had this fear that it was like somebody was going to operate on me that was going to just release the worst spiritual war onto my life, and I was just battling this stupidity of faith versus fear, and I just all of a sudden kind of knew one day that I was going to have a heavenly experience when I went in for surgery, but I didn't know what that meant. So my friends started saying, "How are you going? Are you preparing for surgery? Rah, 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 and how are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm just going to go to heaven when I'm having surgery." And they're like, "What? What are you saying?" I'm like, "I don't mean I'm going to die. I'm just going to have a heavenly experience. I'm trusting that the Lord's going to be with me."
Yeah.
And I went into the hospital room, the surgical room, to be prepared. And I started praying during that time, and I had this kind of like vision, and I was lying in the bed in the preparation area. I wasn't out under anesthetic yet, and I just saw all of these people around me dressed the same, and they were looking down upon me, and I felt like they were angels. And then it was like God was like, "They're my angelic people." He's like, "I've got my blessing upon the people that are operating on you." And he was showing me that everyone in the operating room was strategically put there by him.
Wow.
And so I felt like everyone had a right to touch me. Everyone had a right to be there because they were organized by God, no matter what they believed. And I just was like, I'm taking authority over this hospital room and over this hospital, and my presence is got Jesus in it, and so Jesus is with me, and so no one can hurt me, no one can touch me, and this is going to go smooth as, and it did.
It's beautiful. It's actually we're running so smoothly here, Dina, because when you spoke about your surgery, I'm like, okay, that would be my next sort of God moment, was during my surgery as well, and sort of a similar experience, I guess, because we're praying so much, in this time leading up to it. I don't know if I touched on it, but it was my first ever surgery, so I was petrified. I was so nervous. It was my first time going into the hospital and being operated on. So the same thing, praying, God be with me. Andy said a little prayer before we went in. And I just remember as they were preparing me, the tears were just flowing. They were just flowing. And I remember my specialist sort of pulled me aside, and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine. I think I just shared I was feeling a little bit anxious, nervous, all of those feelings. I wasn't feeling any peace at that point. And anyways, they, wheeled me in. Obviously, you're not wearing much underneath that beautiful blue gown. Very exposed, and it's freezing in the hospital. It's freezing. So I remember being quite chilly, and wheeled me in. He said, "Everything's going to be okay, Sonya." And I just prayed. I prayed and prayed and prayed. I was like, "God, I need you here right now. I need to feel your presence." I didn't have a vision or anything as such, but it was more of a feeling of his presence. And it felt like, the best way to describe it, because I was so freezing and cold in there, it felt like a big warm electric blanket or something just wrapped over me. And I felt completely warm and complete peace, like all the fear, anxiety, everything just left. And I just felt, similar to you, like everybody here was placed here by God. They know what they're doing. I'm in this moment right now because, this is where God has me. I'm on the journey to having my baby, and I just need to trust him. So I just felt his warmth. I felt like this huge blanket being wrapped around me, and just undescribable peace. I can't even explain it, but just the fear and anxiety left. So
it's like God comes in and knows exactly what you need in that very moment, and he's so aware of every single little thing and big thing, and we're in that total place of surrender. I mean, we're submitting ourselves to people that are putting us under anesthetic and trusting that we're going to be okay.
It's pretty scary. You don't know what they're going to do. Yeah, totally.
And I remember I just kept thinking, if I was in an emergency situation, like a car accident or something where I had no control over myself being administered into a hospital situation, I would be so thankful for those doctors. And I wouldn't be thinking about anything that I've been thinking about, because I've had the time to be, placing my wonders and everything. And even in saying that, when I came out of that surgery, I remember so clearly being rolled through the tunnel. All you can see is lights above you and you're still hazy. And I remember seeing my husband on one side of me, and then I remember just seeing this arm over me, and this arm, on this arm I could see this tattoo right here. It was a nurse's arm, and it was a tattoo of a cross, and all I remember was grabbing her arm and looking up, like trying to find her in my kind of hazy feeling, and saying, "Would you please pray for me?" And I remember there was an interaction that I don't have the details on in my memory bank of my husband and her, and that she did pray for me. And there was an exchange that my husband explained later where she felt so honored to be requested to pray, because she's not allowed necessarily to pray in her work setting. And so even our need of having God being present in our lives in these surgeries, in these desperate times, then opened up the door for others to be needed, and to be fulfilling that gift on their life of prayer or helping somebody. And I remember I tried to find her for a long time after that. I wanted
Did you ever find her?
I did and I didn't. I found her, but then I never found her, and I just wanted to thank her and be able to say, "You're real and you prayed for me, and I'm so grateful." And
well, she could have been one of those guardian angels, Dina.
Oh, well, Scott said she was real.
Okay.
So I think she must have been. And I did have an opportunity to find her later, but then I never found her. And so just one of those things. But and I actually had a beautiful male nurse as well, who was a Christian, who would pray for me.
Wow.
And amazing. I was just really grateful for that. And it did. It felt like God went, okay, here's a few pieces. I'm going to put this person in the roster and this person in the roster to make you feel at peace.
So during the recovery, because it was I found it a fairly challenging recovery, I was just crying out to God, just going, God, like, why am I in this position? Like, can you show me? Can you reveal to me why I'm going through this right now? Why I'm feeling this pain? Why, what's just happened to me? I was just so, I was just so overwhelmed. Like one moment, going into, I want to have a baby, that's why I'm here. But, then they find this cyst that's possibly could be life-threatening if it bursts, and all of a sudden I'm out of it, and I'm just asking all the questions. And I think just in that time, I was doing a lot of praying, a lot of journaling again, and I really just felt him say so strongly that I'm going to share this story, and this story is going to help so many women. And I think I've shared this with you before. I really felt to then start being vocal about it and talking about it and speaking up with other women, and getting the word out there, sharing the story basically. And so I was like, okay, I don't understand how this is going to help women, but I will do that. I will be obedient. And so it's pretty amazing how, I started speaking up about it just on my Facebook, just on social media.
And I remember reading that, and that's when I was first like, oh, wow, Sonya's dealing with the same thing I'm dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. And that was probably the first time that you'd heard that. And I was sort of like, 1 in 10. Yes, that's me. I'm experiencing this. So I was very open about it from that point through my social media. This is what God wants me to do, obviously. And then all of a sudden, one day, it was quite a number of years later, we had some chats and you approached me about it, and I just went, okay, I do remember God speaking to me clearly about this, that I need to be sharing my story. So I jumped at it, obviously. And then along the way, I've had some other words of knowledge or prophetic words spoken over myself and my husband, Andy, to basically share my story. So here we are.
Yeah, I mean, the power of our testimony is so mighty, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who don't want to talk about their journeys and the details of their journeys, but you and I are both more than willing to share our journeys.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's because we wallow in our past or we're stuck in our past, but it's because we're okay to do that. And some people aren't, and some people are. And I think when you are, you realize that's a blessing on your life. That
Totally.
being vulnerable and being willing to share your stuff is a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's fine when others don't want to.
Yeah.
But I remember when I too had no plans to do this, and it was a dream. You know, God gave me a dream, and it was right before my hysterectomy. I woke up with this title of a book, and you know, and I was like this, you know, woman who was going to interview women, and I'm like, what? That's never been it's never been my passion. I've never wanted to be in front of the camera, you know, and now I'm just about to you know, get my book published, and you know, and it's all kind of intertwined, and you know, we don't know what we're always going to do when we're following God's path.
Yeah.
And so we've both gone, all right, God, lead the way with this. You've allowed us to go through this for a reason.
Yeah.
We are miraculously healed in so many ways. We had our own journey. It wasn't like, you know, bang, you know, you're done. But there's a reason for it.
Absolutely.
And one of those reasons is to help others. Hey.
Yeah, totally.
So so we're each other's biggest advocate in this way.
We are.
Yeah.
And we're both happy to be open and vulnerable, and so.
But I think even the daily journey of just prayer, and, you know, any time when I might feel a little bit funny, or you know, the years of the journey of going through it with God, if God wasn't by my side, and if I didn't actually allow myself to heal from my own pains and issues, if I didn't forgive certain things in my life, I mean, you have to forgive everything really to have a clean journey with God. But, you know, the sickness actually opened up a door to so many other things I needed to deal with, and so many inhibitions I had, that it made me so much more vulnerable than I ever was. And I'm grateful for that experience. I would never change it.
Yeah.
I didn't like being sick, and I don't like pain, but I most of the time I'm that kind of person that will make the most out of something bad.
Yeah, that's great.
And so I think you and I both have turned something that was tough into something positive.
Yeah, that's right. Something good. And I think it's great that we can, I've just lost my train of thought again. What I was going to say was,
trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding.
That's it. And basically, it's a daily thing. When you were saying that, it's a daily thing of giving it over to God and saying, okay, today's hard, but I can't do it in my own strength. I'm going to give it to you, God.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Great.
God talks.
Yep. Love
Good God
talks.